Okay, this is my next level of cold bluing. Like I said, cold bluing is a good touch-up. It's not the best in some ways. Cosmetically, it'll make a gun look better. But to actually cold blue a whole firearm, to put it in a nutshell, we're going to try to get the gun to look good, but I don't know if it'll stand up over time. So the project that came to me, working with the black powder guns, we're going to have to modify the loading area under the ram, and all of those repros have a hot blue finish. But if you start carving the metal, you're going to have to touch up the area that you widened. So in the midst of working on my black powder guns and knowing this was coming, I took on this other project. A friend of mine came to me with this old shotgun. Okay, it's an old Stevens shotgun, and as you see, we'll take a look. It's in pretty shitty shape here. But what it is, it belongs to a family member. It was somebody's father's gun, and I'm serious. When this came to me, the barrel and the forestock was there, and there's like a drill bit where the pin is, something modified. And when the stock was on this, there was none of the internal parts in it. The hammer, the little lever, everything. The only thing left was the trigger. And as you look at this, it's in pretty crappy shape. So I told the guy, fortunately I went to Numerich Arms. It's a pretty common gun and not an expensive gun. They have all the parts that are missing. It's like $120 worth of parts, but they had them. So I told him, I said, look, this gun ain't worth crap. But starting off, it's going to be over $100 for me to get all the parts and hopefully install them and nothing's damaged. And I said, by the way, tell you what, give me a few extra dollars and I'll try to cold blue this. I need to practice. So the people agreed, and the guy said, you know, he doesn't care. He just wants the gun back functioning again. And so I'm looking at it. We'll take a look at it. And I said, this is a good cold blue project. I got the go-ahead from the owner, and also I'll gain experience in using these different chemicals. So we'll take a closer look at the gun, and I'm going to do two different things in my approach here. Okay, as we look at the receiver, we can see rust and that, and the finish is pretty spotty and nasty. Old rust in it, but still, it's still fairly good in color. So what I'm going to do with this here is I'm going to go, because there's all this internal rust and that in here, what I'm going to do to start off with before we get started is I'm going to spray it down with Ballistol. This stuff eats up rust. Spray it all over the gun, let it sit for a while, and try to, with just 4/0 steel wool, try to get as much as this rust off. And this may be in a condition good enough to where the cold blue will blend in everything and it'll look good after about 3 coats or so. So that's the approach I'm taking with this. But as we look at the barrel, you see most of the damn finish has come off. I don't know if they tried cold bluing this thing or not. This doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all, and this isn't going to blend well. And you see there's the original blue under the wood line. So this thing must have been left out, I don't know, on the lawn or something, or some crap. So what I believe we're going to do here is I'm thinking of stripping off right to the metal as far as I can go. And this is kind of like rust here. So with this section of the gun, I'm going to use another product, Birchwood Casey's Blue and Rust Remover. Now I've used this stuff before in the past, okay? That's a little package it comes in. It does. It gets on there and you strip this off. And we're going to use steel wool, maybe even Scotch-Brite, and try to polish that and then blue it. Try to get this staining either off, see if it removes the staining, the rust staining, and whatever, and maybe get it right down to the bare metal. So then we'll have a bare metal, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so we'll get started. We'll get this out of the way. And we'll take our piece here. Basically, what I'm going to do, I got the spray version of this. Just hose this right down. And get a good coat on all sides. And I'm just going to let it set. Because sometimes you got to let this stuff set for days and retreat it. But we're going to let this sit on there for the rest of the day and come back. And like I said, with our fine 4/0 steel wool, we can try some of it here. Just try polishing it real quick because that's light rust. And as you see, we may not even have to refinish this. This may come back as it is, and we'll leave it alone. Well, this is the bad side down here. So see, some of this is in good shape. Yeah, see, this is stained. The bottom side here, the staining, where the sides ain't too bad, but then there's wear at the top, so the wear is uneven on it. This will probably clean up well after it soaks a while. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to try to use the cold blue to blend it into one solid thing. The finish, like I said, there's some spots it's worn more than others, but there's a good portion of this receiver that is still somewhat yeah, see, this side is spotted, but not terrible. So the cold blue will probably blend in on this very well. We'll coat it again, let it sit some more, because there are some difficult spots of rust in here. And that's what we'll do. So this is going to sit, it's going to be polished, then we're going to degrease it, then we're going to try our cold blue in a touch-up mode. Okay, now, while that other part's sitting there, the blue and rust remover, if you read the instructions here, it says, caution, do not use this on flat or coil springs, because this is an acid base. And one thing I've noticed with all of these videos about using this, no matter if it's the Birchwood KC products or Ortho Blue, these things are acid base. You must wash off the parts with water to deactivate the chemicals in these solutions. And all these guys doing this, they either omit it or I'm not seeing it done in a lot of these videos. So that's something we got to do. And the instructions tell you, clean and degrease with, degreaser, apply blue and rust remover on a saturated swab, and allow to work for 2 minutes. Lightly polish with a small dampened pad of steel wool, I guess dampened in this stuff, to remove old bluing and rust. Repeat steps 1, okay, clean and degrease, and then wipe dry. Brighten area with steel wool or abrasive cloth if gun is to be reblued and browned. Alright, so first thing we're going to do, I'm going to go get my tools and get this ready. Alright, another thing to bear in mind, I'm doing these videos, I really don't have no experience with this. I've tried this years ago and it really didn't come out well. Of course, I was a lot experienced back with guns. So I'm going to follow directions to see what happens, none of this special stuff. So here's the acetone. And what I'm going to do is wipe down this area here. And actually, I'm not going to fool with the actual bluing. See all the crud coming off of there? I'm not going to take the bluing off the wood line. We're going to see how well this stuff works on removing it. So, there we go. There's a lot of crap coming off with it. With just the acetone. Alright. Try to get the camera zoomed in on this, and then we'll start applying. Like I was saying, I'll zoom in the camera. I'm going to get some just cloth patches, get them saturated. And then we're going to apply this onto the top here. And you can smell it. It's got a funky smell to it. We'll do this one little section. Apply it on there. Yeah, break my balls, do you? Yeah, that's some heavy rust too. What are they saying? 2 minutes. Okay. Now we've applied it to one little area, and we're going to come back here in 2 minutes to see how it does. Okay, now the instructions say to take a small piece of steel wool dampened, I guess, with the solution. And we're going to see if that well, this thing kind of not really removing the rust in that too much. This is pretty deep. So we're going to have to get aggressive with this hunk of Scotch-Brite material. That's doing a little bit better job. And like I said, the one thing everyone said to do, or doesn't do, we're going to get us a piece of cloth here, get it wet. I'm going to douse this with water. Basically what this is going to do is neutralize this acid. Okay. And once you get it wet, we're going to dry it off. Okay. So obviously we got to use something a little more intense than just steel wool, fine steel wool. As you see, this rusting is heavy and pitted in there. This stuff does kind of loosen the rust, but it's very deep. Okay, so what I'm going to do is dry this off, soak the area again, soak it down, and I'm going to hit it with this Scotch-Brite. I wish I had a regular Scotch-Brite pad. I might look and see if I can find one. And we're going to try to strip this down. This is not going to be easy or simple. This is not going to be done in one step. It's going to take some work to get this barrel under control here. So I'll give you an idea. So again, what we're going to do, we're going to saturate it again, let it sit for the 2 minutes, take the Scotch-Brite and a little bit of solution, try to loosen this all up, and then we're going to wipe it down with water, dry it off, and then redo it again and again until we get it cleaned up. You know, other than sanding or buffing this, may have to get intense with it. So we'll get back after we work on it a bit. Okay, this rust is so bad on here that what I've done, or had to do, is I got this steel wool impregnated with this solution. I put the solution on and take a piece of heavy grit sandpaper and just run that up and down the barrel. I mean, that's how bad this is. The solution does help with this, okay? But, I mean, this barrel's rusted bad. This is a real bad situation here. But that's what it is. Heavy grit sandpaper and bluing removal. Let's see what we got. Get a wet cloth and wipe this down. There, we're getting it close, but that stuff is terrible. You had to use more of aggressiveness with this. Scotch-Brite didn't do it, steel wool didn't do it. I used the sandpaper back here. You can actually see the markings, but a lot of that's not going to go away, them spots and speckles. And you see it did remove that bluing on the bottom. The fluid ran over, but this is a total, this is really, really way more work. You know, I'm going to get the rest of this corrosion off using that method, just putting the solution and heavy grit sandpaper, and then maybe I will burnish this with steel wool, you know, as we go. But this is really becoming a project. This is not easy. So this Birchwood Casey stuff does work, okay? But I'm using it in conjunction with some pretty rugged grit sandpaper. It's just a basic matter of finishing this. I'm going to get this all cleaned off. You see I got more fluid. Yeah, I got more fluid in there. Now I'm going to do it here. Yeah, so you see this project, a lot more work than it's worth. And basically, it's giving me the practice to do this, and I'm doing a favor for a friend of mine. Basically, that's why I'm doing this. The guys help me out a lot, so I'll do this and really ain't going to charge you people. The gun's not worth the amount of work putting into it. That's the problem with a project like this. Yeah, see now, once you get that solution on there, that rust starts flowing right out. So the solution's doing its job, you know. And you kind of don't want to let it dry. You want to keep it all wet and wipe it down. And then dry it off. And what you see I got, now it's just a matter of sitting here doing the little spots and blending this all in all the way down and giving it a final cleanup. And then probably, let's see what the steel wool will do. We hit this with the steel wool and give us a shine. Yeah, you'll have to sit here. Once I get all these spots off, I'll have to sit here with a piece of steel wool. It does shine this. It will bring a shine to this. And then we'll be ready to try the ortho blue on this. I don't know if I'm going to do it today. I might save that for tomorrow. We're talking hours and hours of work here. This is not a simple thing. But for right now, I'm going to go on using that method. I mean, this solution does what it says it does. That's true. It does loosen this rust. but I have to use an extremely aggressive and abrasive to get this rust off. You know, you can see the rust was so bad I couldn't see the scroll on the barrel. Now I can read it clearly. Okay, so this gun was in rough shape. So this is a good practice, and we'll see. So I'll get back to when I'm done with this rust removal and show you my results. And then we'll probably break the video off today for that. Alright, so after some handiwork in a few hours, we got this stripped down. Now we're ready to try to give it a polish. What I'm going to do is sit here in the morning tomorrow and polish this to get a sheen on it. And then we're going to run a video and do the ortho blue. So this does work to a degree. If you just wanted to remove normal bluing, you see it does that. And if you had light rust, it does dissolve the rust, because I had some heavy rust build up there that stuff just it wiped right off. Okay, but this barrel was rusted to the degree where it's not all coming out. That was deep, and we had to use heavy, pretty strong grit sandpaper to get both the finish off, and it's still peppered all through there. But I believe it'll come out all right. Okay, and we're going to try to use the ortho blue and paste from Brownell. I heard that's fairly good. So we're going to see what we end up with. So one thing to bear in mind, I have this bowl of water here, is whenever you're using any of this, and this is something everyone omits, you have to go and neutralize this fluid with water. Okay, because a lot of this stuff is soldered on, and I don't know after time if you leave this on there, if this will loosen the soldered barrel lugs in that. So you have to kind of be careful and neutralize the acids on this. So you wipe it down with water and just take a dry cloth and wipe the water off. Okay? And I may coat this with something to seal that metal. I'll oil it. That way I can let it sit overnight without worrying about it rusting. But there's the end results. We can see the scroll on there now, which we couldn't before. Couldn't read that. That wasn't legible. And most of that weird staining and spotting is gone. So hopefully, in the end, we're going to have a nice looking project here. The only thing, like I said, is cold blue, you know, I don't know how long it'll stand up, but the individual wants the gun back in one piece, and we're going to give it a damn good try. Alright, so that's it for the Birchwood Casey Blue and Rust Remover. It is a good product. It does do what it says, as long as, you know, it's not a difficult thing. Like this here, we needed a little extra abrasiveness with it. And also wash your hands, and I didn't wear gloves, but with baking soda and water once you're finished up. All right, thank you.